Thank you for meeting with me today.
My pleasure.
I always enjoy our conversations because we're both so passionate in the fight against human trafficking. So we know that we need, as Recover Hope, help from you, the police.
Mm-hmm.
We rely heavily on law enforcement because you are the front line of this. But what is some things that are obstacles to you, the police, in the fight against human trafficking?
Well, human trafficking is one of those things that the people who perpetrate it count on leveraging the discomfort of others. The bystander effect, the fact that people will see something and they'll rationalize it as, well, that's normal, that's okay, right? And so they're expecting that people won't behave outside of their comfort zones and reach out to law enforcement if they see something that they feel is a little wonky or unusual. So there's the fact that they count on that, right? There's also a lot of misinformation about what constitutes human trafficking, right? And most of the time when I speak to people in the community and I ask them, well, what does human trafficking look like to you? They reveal something like they would have seen out of a movie like Taken or something like that. It's a white panel van that pulls up at a gas station and snatches kids up, and that's where it happens. And what people don't realize is that most people who are trafficked, most children who are trafficked, still live at home. They still attend school, and a lot of times it's sextortion. It's things of that nature, and or it's relationships that go sideways, right? And so it's not where everybody is looking for it because they have a misconception of what it is. They're not looking for it where it actually is occurring, right? So I would say, the operating, the desire to, or the belief that people will operate for their own comfort and not discomfort, and the fact that people aren't necessarily looking for it where it is. Now, those are the two biggest obstacles. And then I think the other thing that we run into too is that there are a lot of people out there that intentionally put misinformation out because this is a topic that will stir people up, right? And they say now that one of the more modern currencies is attention, right? So if you can put something out there and get attention, well, who cares if it's right or wrong? You're getting the attention, and so that becomes a problem as well. So it's kind of a confluence of a number of issues, but it hides in plain sight. And I think with proper training, the work that Recover Hope is doing and the education that we're doing at the public, we're hoping that people will be able to actually see some of the warning signs of what trafficking looks like and then make the courageous call to let us know.
Right. As you well know, we always, at Recover Hope, we always share the signs of grooming that Shared Hope puts out. Theirs is focused on youth, but one of the things that we tell everybody, it can happen to anybody. I have met survivors that were groomed at age 4. I've met a survivor that is a month older than me, which is really disconcerting. And so it's not just for youth, it's for everybody. And so trying to get them to put those pieces of the puzzle together, like you said, we tell them, don't just take one thing and call 911. We want you to call, but we want you to look at the various things. It has the signs of grooming of a child, but it also has the signs of the trafficker, the pimp, what to look for. And for me, I love doing puzzles, but you've got to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's not that you've got to be right. It's that you've got to have that reasonable doubt you don't want.
But I think what they're counting on is well, the puzzle's not complete, so I can rationalize this away as something else.
Right.
Right. And the truth is, if you see one or two pieces and you're like, that looks like a human trafficking puzzle, call us. Right. Because we have people that put those things together. Yeah.
Well, and that I've had people call me and go, I'm sitting at Panera at this juncture of all these roads, 288, Powai, all that. And I saw something, but we can't get the license. Did you call the police? No, we called you first. Don't, I will be glad to talk to you because that in itself is traumatizing to the person that's reporting it. But call 911 first and then call me and I will be glad to walk with you through this. And so I think it's just the thing. I don't want to, I tell people I would rather be the fool and be wrong than to be right and not report it.
Well, I think it's important that people understand that the people that are doing the trafficking are counting on us not to want to put ourselves in a position of discomfort. And so there's what we say and there's what we do, right? So if we say that we're concerned about human trafficking, then what we do is we put ourselves in a position of discomfort if we see a piece of the puzzle out there and we ask somebody to go check it out, right? And if we're not willing to do that, then we don't really care the way we think we care or tell ourselves or tell others. Yeah.
We like to think that's how we think.
Sure.
But until you're in that situation, you don't know. So what is it that Recover Hope can do to help with some of these obstacles other than going out there doing training?
Well, the training is big. And like I said, a lot of people are misinformed with respect to what human trafficking looks like, how the vulnerable are exploited, how the innocent are corrupted. And I think it's important that there be that messaging piece out there because that is we have 385,000 people living in Chesterfield County, and that's, that's a lot of eyes, right?
It is.
And there are only, 730 members of our department. So we need those partnerships with, nonprofits, with members of our community, caring and concerned individuals. We can't do it alone. Right. And fortunately, there's a lot of attention out there on this topic right now. My hope is that we can sustain that and continue driving towards change. We are seeing the recognition by the criminal element that you can only sell drugs once, right? But if you have another person under your control, you can monetize that over and over and over. And what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of these folks who are being trafficked, they're trafficked, 5 to 10 times a day. And the average victim of human trafficking the life expectancy is 7 years. So people don't get that. This isn't something that happens in other communities. It happens here. It's not something that happens to other kids. It happens to the kids in your neighborhood, right? And we've got to be aware. So I think the awareness piece is huge. The work that you do in the General Assembly and you speak to legislators and, you just push the agenda forward. We need more of that.
Yeah. One of the things that I have seen as an obstacle for law enforcement is that Virginia was like the last state in the country to get standalone laws for human trafficking. And so let me ask you about the new thing that's come up. We've just, Delegate Cherry has just submitted a labor trafficking law. Are we seeing any labor trafficking in Chesterfield that you're aware of? I know we had 33 arrests last year for sex trafficking in Chesterfield County. Can you speak to the labor trafficking part of this?
Not with any specificity with respect to open investigations, because you can't compromise those investigations. But I can tell you, as I said earlier, that trafficking occurs in every community.
Right.
And so we are aware of it, and we actively investigate it. And it can manifest in a number of different service industries. It can manifest in the construction industry. I mean, there are all kinds of places where trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking can occur. We have staff specifically committed to combating human trafficking. We work with a regional task force, state task force. Governor Youngkin has pushed this topic very hard since he's been in office, and I've been deeply appreciative of that because,
as have we.
Because we're finally starting to gain some momentum and some ground. And we're making it clear to the people who are trafficking other human beings that it is not safe to operate in Virginia.
Right.
And it's specifically not safe to operate in Chesterfield.
Correct. And I've heard a compliment from another high functioning against human trafficking compliment you at a police academy that I was at a few months ago and saying what a good job Chesterfield's doing. And of course, I got all proud about that because this is my county, but we don't want anybody to be trafficked. And one of the things that we're pushing, and I don't know if you have any ideas on this, is to get into businesses. Those people that are doing work on your house, internet installation, any kind of work on your house, is to train those people because, again, you were talking about the eyes and ears. They may see something they don't realize that they're seeing because they don't know about it.
Sure. I mean, and I think there's opportunities for the fire service and EMTs, cable installation, Amazon UPS drivers, people that work in hotels at the front desk,
Yes.
right? They will see all kinds of warning signs, right? So I do think there are opportunities for specific domains of instruction
Right.
for classes of individuals. And, for example, to your point, if someone is in someone's house and they see an interior door and that interior door has a couple of deadbolts, where on the outside you
Right.
lock the door, right?
Right.
Well, that's what we call in policing a clue, right? That means somebody is in that room and they're not
Right.
allowed out,
Right.
right? And so that's something certainly that's not a piece. That's an entire puzzle. Call us on that one, right? But you're right. If you don't know what you're looking for or what you're seeing, it hides in plain sight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing I want to announce to you, and I wasn't planning on it, but I'm going to tell you, I am actually in the process of writing a training for EMS for another district. They are having me come in at the end of the month and train each shift and hopefully not get any calls while we're there, because EMS gets forgotten in this. And they're often the times when I first met you, I said, it's not going to be just the SVU and the human trafficking detectives. It's going to be the beat cop, the street cop that's going to run into it. So we're getting ready to roll that out, and hopefully we will be well received there, because they can be a clue that you don't always get called to those EMS calls. So
Rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah, rarely. And I think the other thing to look at too is, overdoses. A lot of times
Yes.
people who are exploiting others are using a dependency on drugs to leverage that as a means for exploitation. So, overdose calls are a thing. And I do think there are opportunities to connect with like the Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
and do some business education, and maybe even put a focus group together of like industries, like the hotel motel industry.
Right.
Can we get people together to discuss the topic and to commit together to addressing the issue as an industry? I think that would be very, very big.
I would love to do that. We did a focus group with leadership, legislation, police, education, the jail, the HEART program, but we need to do more of those, because we can't serve, and we can't serve each other, not just Recover Hope serving, but each other, if we don't know what the needs are in that jurisdiction. And so I think that's really important. And hopefully we will do that. We are very, our videographer and I met through the Chamber of Commerce down in Southern Virginia. And so just trying to make those connections. It's everybody's problem whether they want it to be or not, unfortunately. So what would you say what we need is public engagement, business engagement, all of that, to really make this work? I mean, it's working, but it could work even better if we had just imagine all those eyes, all those people you were talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of reiterating here. But so what advice should you and I share with the public to help the fight of human trafficking?
Well, I'd say, it's the old dialogue of if you see something, say something. I think that's important.
Yes.
But the challenge, I think, is to encourage people to live their values.
Yes.
If you say you're concerned about human trafficking be willing to do something about it. Like, be willing to call. And I just want to share, like, as the police chief, like, we're not going to have somebody who's going to come out to a community member and ridicule someone for calling, right? We're going to be deeply thankful that someone picked up the phone and cared enough to call, because we're all in this fight together. And so we're looking for, allies and advocates in the community that will work with us in addressing this issue. It is an issue that we are very passionate about. And, one of the 4 reasons we exist is protection of the vulnerable. And this is one of the inspirations for that tenet.
Great. I want to thank you for your time. We do want to tell you all out there that have been watching this, we do want you to see something and say something. It's not just a logo on a T-shirt. It's not just what everybody says. Nobody's trademarked it, because we all believe that's so important in the battle to keeping our community safe.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. It's always a pleasure.
You too.